Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to Realms, Rescue, and Starships. I'm your host, Philip, and tonight we're continuing our journey through Wonders of the Silver Flame. So grab your flame-blessed snacks and settle in. Tonight we continue chapters 2 and 3 of Wonders of the Silver Flame. Quick heads up, this episode's running a bit late. Life threw me a curveball this week, but I'm still here and we'll be back on schedule next week. Thanks for sticking with me. Before we begin, if you ever want to share thoughts, questions, or feedback about the story or the podcast, feel free to send them to my author email, philiphanks48@gmail.com. That's PHILIPHANKS48@gmail.com. I love hearing from listeners, and your comments help shape future episodes. All right, let's pick up right where we left off. Quick recap. We ended with the army appearing. Henry watched the army march, dust rising behind them like a storm cloud. War doesn't care if we're tired, he said. If an enemy this size is on the move, something is coming. The wolves growled again, and far off, carried on the wind, came the faint echo of a horn, long, deep, and foreboding, the kind of horn blown only when kingdoms prepare for battle. That was the end of chapter 1. So let's jump right into chapter 2. The army's thunderous march echoed across the plains as Henry and the others descended the hill. Dust rose in great clouds behind the advancing host, and sunlight glinted off hundreds of shields and helmets. Cortez shaded his eyes. They're slowing. Robin the Great, lithe, sharp-eyed, and already knocking an arrow, stepped forward. No army slows unless they've seen something or someone. Henry raised a hand. Weapons down. Let's not start a war by accident. The group approached cautiously as the front ranks of the army halted. A line of armored soldiers parted, and 3 figures rode forward on horseback. A human general in gleaming silver plate, a dwarven commander with a braided beard and a hammer across his back, and an elven captain with a long green cloak and eyes like polished emeralds. The human general dismounted first. I am General Aldrich of the Eastern Host, he announced. State your names and your purpose in these lands. Henry stepped forward. I am Henry Alcott, formerly of King Alderon's army. These are my companions. We seek only a place to settle. The dwarf snorted. Strange time to be settling. The world's about to crack open. Amber frowned. What do you mean? The elven captain's voice was soft but carried weight. A darkness stirs in the mountains, something old, something that should have remained buried. Robin lowered her bow. What kind of darkness? The elf hesitated. We do not yet know, only that villages have vanished. Scouts have not returned, and the winds carry whispers of awakening. Ormond muttered, That sounds like trouble. Donita crossed her arms. Trouble we don't need. General Aldrich studied the group. We march to investigate, and if necessary to destroy whatever rises, but we will not turn away any who wish to aid us. Cortez exchanged a look with Henry. We fought enough wars. Carrie stepped forward, but if something threatens the land, we can't ignore it. Eleanor nodded. If villages are disappearing, people need help. Amber looked at her sister. Carissa? Carissa sighed. We wanted peace, but peace doesn't always want us. Henry looked at each of his companions, warriors, mages, rangers, clerics, all forged in battle, all searching for a home. He turned back to the commanders. What exactly are we facing? General Aldrich's expression darkened. We don't know, but whatever it is, it's powerful enough to unite humans, dwarves, and elves under one banner. The dwarf grunted, and that hasn't happened in 1,000 years. A chill ran through the group. Robin stepped forward, her voice steady. If something threatens the world, we'll stand with you. Henry nodded. We'll help, but we need to know everything you know. The elven captain gestured toward the marching host. Walk with us. There is much to discuss. The army began moving again, slower now. As the companions joined the commanders at the front, behind them the forest rustled. The wolves growled, and far in the distance, a low, unnatural rumble echoed from the mountains, a sound like stone grinding against stone. Something ancient was wakening. Chapter 3: The Vanishing Villages. The armies camp at night. By dusk, the united host of humans, dwarves, and elves had made camp along the forest's edge. Hundreds of tents dotted the plains like pale lantern fires, flickering between them. The smell of roasting meat mingled with the crisp night air, and the low murmur of soldiers settling in filled the darkness. Henry and his companions were given a place near the commander's pavilion. Their wolves curled beside the fire, ears twitching at every distant sound. Robin the Great stood at the edge of the camp, her sharp elven eyes scanning the tree line. Something's wrong, she murmured. Cortez joined her. The forest is too quiet. Eleanor nodded. Even the night birds are silent. Henry approached, his hand resting on the hilt of his sword. General Aldrich said villages have vanished, entire settlements gone, without a trace. Carissa shivered. What could do that? No one answered. The first signs of the ancient threat. Later that night, the commanders summoned Henry's group to the central pavilion. Maps lay, spread across a large wooden table, marked with red ink and carved tokens. General Aldrich pointed to a cluster of villages near the mountains. These settlements were thriving a month ago. Now they're empty. No bodies, no signs of struggle, just gone. The dwarven commander slammed a fist onto the table. Homes left standing, meals still warm on the hearth, tools dropped in the fields as if the folk simply vanished. Amber whispered, Taken? The elven captain nodded grimly. Yes, taken. But by what? We do not know. Henry studied the map. And you think whatever did this is moving east? We know it is, Aldrich said. Our scouts saw something, a shadow moving across the land, a shape too large to be a beast, too silent to be an army. Robin's voice was barely above a whisper. A darkness that walks? The tent fell silent. Near midnight, a horn sounded, not an alarm, but a call for attention. Soldiers gathered as a lone scout stumbled into camp, pale and trembling. The elven captain rushed to him. What happened? The scout's voice shook. The village of Green Hollow. It's gone. A murmur rippled through the crowd. Henry stepped forward. Gone? How? The scout swallowed hard. The houses are there, the fields untouched, but the people, all of them, gone. Cortez frowned. Tracks? Signs of struggle? None, the scout whispered. But there was something else. He reached into his cloak and pulled out a small wooden toy, a child's carved horse, blackened as if burned from the inside. Robin recoiled. What magic is that? The scout shook his head. I don't know, but the air around it felt cold, wrong. The toy cracked in his hand, and a thin wisp of black smoke curled upward, vanishing into the night sky. Moments later, the wolves growled, both of them, their fur bristling, their eyes fixed on the forest. Eleanor drew her bow. Something's coming. The fires flickered, the wind died. A low rumble echoed from the trees like distant thunder or breathing. Henry raised his shield. Form up. Soldiers scrambled into ranks as shadows moved between the trees, tall, shifting shapes that glided rather than walked. Amber whispered a prayer. Donita stepped beside Henry, sword drawn. Whatever it is, we stand together. The first shadow emerged into the firelight. It had no face, no form, just a towering silhouette of darkness. Its edges rippled like smoke. Robin fired an arrow. It passed through the creature as if through mist. The shadow had turned toward them, and the temperature dropped so suddenly that frost formed on the grass. Henry shouted, "Hold the line!" The creature lunged. Steel met shadow. Magic flared. The night exploded into chaos, and for the first time, the companions faced the rising darkness that had swallowed entire villages whole. The shadow struck with impossible speed. Henry barely raised his shield before the creature's formless arm slammed into it. The impact felt like being hit by a winter storm, not force, but cold, a biting chill that numbed his arm to the elbow. Cortez swung his blade in a clean arc. The steel passed through the creature, leaving only a ripple of darkness in its wake. "No effect," he shouted. Eleanor whispered a spell under her breath, her hands glowing with pale silver light. She thrust her palms forward. The magic struck the creature, and for the first time, it recoiled, its shape flickering like a dying flame. "Light hurts it," she cried. Robin knocked another arrow, this one wrapped in a faint shimmer as she whispered an elven incantation. She loosed the arrow, pierced the creature's chest, or what passed for one, and the shadow shrieked, a sound like a wind tearing through dead branches. More shapes emerged from the tree line, 5, 10, a dozen, all gliding silently toward the camp. The wolves snarled, fur bristling, the breath steaming in the frigid air. General Alderic's voice thundered across the camp. "Shields up! Mages to the rear! Archers, light your arrows!" Torches were thrust into the air. Flames flickered. Soldiers scrambled into formation. Amber clutched her holy symbol, her voice trembling but steady. "By the Dawn Mother's grace." A wave of warmth radiated from her, pushing back the cold. The nearest shadow hissed and shrank away from the light. Henry steadied his grip, forcing, feeling back into his fingers. "We can hold them," he said, though he wasn't sure if he believed it. Donita stepped beside him, sword glowing faintly with runic light. "Then we hold." The shadows surged, and the battle truly began. Those, my friends, were chapters 2 and 3 of Wonders of the Silver Flame. These chapters marked a shift from wandering to awakening, from searching for a home to realizing the world is facing a rising threat. I love how the tension builds here. The united armies, the vanished villages, the burned toy, the wolves sensing danger before anyone else. And then that first confrontation with the shadows, the moment where the companions understood they're not just travelers anymore. They're witnesses to the beginning of a war. These early chapters set the stakes, deepen the mystery, and start pulling out characters toward their destiny. I hope you enjoyed hearing them as much as I enjoyed writing them. Next week, we will be taking a break from fantasy and jump into deep space. I'll be starting the Stellar Command series here on the podcast, exploring the starships, the crew, and the universe I've been building for years. Thanks for listening, and thanks for being part of this journey. Until next time, may your path stay bright. Travel safe, wanderers.